Hi Year 12s, it's Miss Brooks here, bringing you a short screencast on the theme of secrets and integrity in the documemoir film Stories We Tell. So the intention of this screencast is to consider the role that secrets play in the documemoir and the way in which they are either revealed or remain hidden across the course of the documemoir. By the end of it, the expectation is that you can apply your knowledge of this theme to write an analysis of the text. So either a paragraph or an essay in full. So to start with, we would need to define the theme. And so a secret is something that is not openly made, or it's information that is given in confidence. So there are secrets that Diane maintains and takes with her to the grave as such, that are not revealed to anybody else. Well, scratch that. They're revealed to some people. So she turns out, in fact, to be a woman of secrets, as Deidre describes her. And at the end of her life, there are things that her immediate family, Michael and her children, do and don't know about her. And there are particularly some big secrets, for example, Sarah's parentage, that remain kind of unknown to those that Diane was seemingly most closest to at the end of the text. And this search to uncover these secrets ultimately reveals more secrets and more truths for Polly. But in the end, whether you can fully unearth or excavate or get to the bottom of each of these secrets or myths, as you might like to call them, it's not possible, it seems, and you can only get to a kind of approximation of who Diane was as a person, an immaterial hologram, I think someone described it as in their essay. And therefore, that's kind of the problem that audiences are left with. You have to decide, who you think Diane is at the end. And Polly really leaves that to you with that last little touch on the quote by Jeff Bowes, because rather than just ending it on Michael's narration and then the closing images, the screen goes black and then it cuts to Jeff, who reveals that actually they did sleep together once. And Polly just leaves that there for anyone to make a decision about what they will in regards to that content. She doesn't pass a judgment on her mother, and she doesn't ask anybody else, any of her other storytellers, to add or edit that in any way. She simply just leaves it there for us to decide what we think about her and what conclusions we want to draw about her as a person. I know in my class there have been kind of mixed opinions. There's been some negativity around the kind of person that Diane was, but I think ultimately, Polly's trying to present her in quite a sympathetic light, because she sought to control this narrative because she wants to, I think in many ways, protect the image of her mother and who she was as a person, and not let her purely be defined by her infidelity and the fact that she strayed outside her marriages because she was restless and unsatisfied within them. And I think Polly's sympathetic to that idea, as is a kind of theme in her other films, Away with Her and Take This Waltz, which hint at this kind of ongoing challenge or discussion or conversation that Polly is trying to have about women and their role and their expectations and the pressures society places upon them. Anyway, we've gone on a bit of a digression there. So Polly's film is an examination of the ethical dilemma concerning secrets and integrity. So there are questions, for example, in my class we talked about the way in which you would assess or judge Diane's behaviour is on the basis of your own values and your own beliefs. However, I do think that Polly, throughout the film, in shaping it and authoring it in the way she does, is trying to create a more sympathetic image. She's not, even though she does leave that last bit with Jeff Bowes, I think everything she's done before that is supposed to sway you in a certain way, to have kind of sympathy for the person that she was, especially given the fact that Michael's narrative is the frame for the whole text, really, and he's the one that says whatever we do, we mustn't place blame on Diane. And I think he's the one that's supposedly being wronged in all this, and if he's not placing blame on her, then it's hardly fair for us to do that. All right, but anyway, there are a few things that you could talk about, and I've got some notes here, but I don't want to spend too much time on them. I'll make this document available in the comment section below so you can click on it. But basically, there are questions of whether was lying to Michael a kindness or kind of a selfish act. Was Diane doing it to protect him, or was she doing it to protect herself? Because of the pain she thinks she would cause him, but he ultimately suggests that it's a mental anguish that she had to endure, and he wishes that she hadn't, and instead had just told him. Because should it have been a secret when Michael condoned the behaviour in the first place, or did she think she went too far because of the conception of Sarah? You know, this is the big secret that's kind of the driver for the text, but then it becomes about how people tell that story of Diane, and then the greater number of secrets that exist about even how she felt about the pregnancy, whether she knew she was dying, what kind of mother she was, what kind of person she was, you know, all those areas. So there's some key quotes and moments here, and I've also suggested 3 kind of wider reading examples or listening. So this NPR one, for example, that's a transcript of a podcast, so you could just put that on your phone and listen to it from the website. There's also another article here and here, which you can have a little look at. So I'd encourage you to go through and have a little, let's click on one now and have a look. So you just have a read, take a few notes, and see if anything strikes you. And I've particularly chosen those because they're relevant to this question of secrets and integrity. Anyway, but let's jump to an essay prompt. Stories we tell suggest that the truth is rarely simple. So I tried to find one with the word specifically secrets or integrity in it, but we didn't really have one, so I thought this was probably the closest I was going to get to it. So I decided on 3 ideas. Now this is a discuss question, so you get to explore kind of all the all the aspects of this idea of the truth being simple or not. So I started with the idea that Polly is challenging the traditional conventions of the documentary filmmaking by making a hybrid or experimental film. And as such, she blurs the lines between what is true and what is false. And she does that because it's paralleling her own search. So what I'm setting up this essay to be in this first paragraph is what Polly's seeking to do in her film and how she does that and what impact it's supposed to have on the audience in terms of her search for the truth. Then I would move into this idea that there are some truths that are simple and knowable. There are some things that are irrefutable. For example, Sarah's parentage, the fact that Diane was a woman who loved and was loved in return, that she was unsatisfied. I think that's a point of consensus, even from Michael, Harry, her friends, her children, they all agree. And as a result, strayed outside of her marriage. That's a fact, you know, 3 times it happened. And that she was judged harshly. I think that's a fair judgment to make based on the newspaper headlines that were included in the text by Polly there from like the 1960s and 70s, I think they were. And then the last paragraph, I'd look at this idea of that there are other truths that are more opaque, which means not transparent. And as such, the whole process Polly undertakes in search of the truth is challenged by her interviewees who break the 4th wall and challenge her methods. So what I mean by that is that there are truths that are kind of subjective and unknowable. You can't really get to the bottom of them. And the reason that you can't is because the truth itself is depends on the person you are. Harry makes one argument about what the truth should be, and he thinks he is the only one that knows the truth, and he regrets to inform us of that, but that's what he feels. He is the principal party to the event, and therefore he is the only one that can comment. He thinks Michael and Sarah, the siblings, the friends, are all tangentially involved, but they themselves are not the primary witness to the event because they were not in the relationship, and therefore their narrative or their perspective is unwelcome. It creates a chaos that he thinks just clouds it up and makes it a bit woolly as opposed to finding anything concrete. Michael instead suggests that everyone has a truth, but that to convey that truth, you or Sarah herself needs to simply publish their interviews from woe to go, no editing, and just let people consume that. That is the only truth that Michael sees. But ultimately, it's Polly's version that prevails because she is the author of the film and she is creating this. And while she is self-reflective in this meta-narrative layer, and that is the question of the whole commentary on the act of making the film, that is the meta-narrative. When you talk about how you're making the film that you're in, then that is a meta-narrative. And ultimately, it's her version that prevails, but she does include this debate to show that her conclusion that the truth is ephemeral and it's hard to pin down, and that whilst there are some knowable things, there are many things that are unknowable. And in the end, her mum kind of continues to slip away. And you can use that quote about the tsunami that's right at the end. I'm just thinking if I can quickly see it in my notes. It's on about page 57 of the script if you want to have a little look at that. All right, now what I've got here is an introduction, which I did with my class. I'm going to leave it there for you to consume, but as you can see, if you wrote this out in your book, that's quite long in terms of the arguments. So my suggestion to them, what we had got doing was to shorten these, so to simplify these sections down into much shorter sentences, or even into one single sentence if they could do that. But you can have a little go at that, and it'll be linked below so you can access this document. And then this is breaking the paragraphs up into the 3 ideas with some evidence there to include. So I'm just going to have a little look at this because I might add something. Knowable, simple truths. Whilst there are times in which the storyteller are a cacophony, which means kind of out of sync and not in chorus, providing competing memories of the woman who was Diane, there are moments where they fall into a chorus. Polly's film illustrates that the truth of Diane's love for her children, the stage, and the love for her husband Michael are irrefutable. Oh, hold on, that doesn't make sense. The love for her children, the stage, and for Michael are irrefutable. So that would be the focus. And you can talk about, you can talk about the song Skinny Love, but as an example of while she did love him, it was kind of a malnourished relationship that suffered. I don't think that I would talk about the newspapers in that section though, so we can cut that out. Love is short, forgetting is so long is just a kind of reflection on the pain that he feels, which is proof of his love, the fact that he feels that way, that love is so short and forgetting is so long. The pain of her loss and the lengthy time it has taken him. He still obviously has not forgotten her. He's still deeply in love, and he talks about 25 years of marriage and of giving meaning to each other's lives has undoubtedly a cost on them. The nature of truth, and that is very simple. How I would approach that paragraph is talking about the 3 versions of the truth and what one prevails and why. And this one, you can go documentary film by embedding genuine and recreated home movie footage, both in an attempt to obscure. So I would talk about even from the opening, you're getting these glimpses of the woman that Diane was, and then I would talk about a couple of specific scenes, and I would talk about the opening montage where she's kind of on the train, and then she's laughing, and then she's looking sad. There's kind of all these cuts of her in the domestic sphere, like at home, her on stage, and then her out and about. And then I would talk about another example, possibly of the real footage of her singing Ain't Misbehaving, or I'm Misbehaving, sorry. And then I would talk about the revelation towards the end that those are that some of those are recreations which are authored by Sarah Polly herself, and they are just a reflection of people's memories rather than an accurate or a necessarily objectively true genuine footage from the past. They are simply there by Polly to kind of reiterate what's said. And in doing so, when you get that revelation at the end, everything that you've seen before of Diane is thrown into question, and you're wondering, do you ever know do you still know who she is, or you know, is she just still kind of this immaterial hologram that doesn't really come to exist? All right, I've waffled for about 15 minutes. I'm going to give it a break now. Good luck. Any questions, let me know, and best of luck for the sack, I suppose.